Picture this, a single bloodline surviving for over a millennium. We're talking empires rising and falling, catastrophic wars, and a desperate journey across oceans to forge a completely new destiny. Today, in this explainer, we're tracing the absolutely awe-inspiring 1,200-year saga of the Heric family. Let's dive right in.
Our roots in France, our legacy in America. That dramatic contrast right there, that's the beating heart of our story today. We're following an ancient European lineage born way back in the medieval era that somehow, against all odds, managed to survive and completely reinvent itself on the untamed American frontier.
Think of this unbroken lineage as our immortal protagonist. This singular family tree represents generations of people who stared down centuries of famine, devastating fires, and brutal wars, and just absolutely refused to be extinguished. Every single branch you see holds a story of sheer, bloody-minded survival.
Part 1. Forged in Medieval Lorraine.
To really grasp this level of endurance, we have to plunge straight into the brutal, highly contested buffer zone of 8th century Europe. The survival story actually begins with Duke Heric in 750 AD establishing the noble line. Then, jump to 840 AD and we have Saint Heric wielding the immense power of the church. By the time we hit Peter Heric in the 1590s, this bloodline has miraculously outlasted the Black Death, the Hundred Years' War, and the absolute chaos of the lost centuries. I mean, it's just staggering.
Part 2. Fire, famine, and survival. But of course, the threats didn't just magically end in the Middle Ages. As the 17th century dawned, massive geopolitical instability threatened to wipe the family out entirely. During the 30 Years' War, their home of Lorraine became a primary battlefield, literally ravaged by famine, plague, and catastrophic population loss. And yet, the Heric family, anchored in the little village of Agincourt, endured the unimaginable. They held on.
Eventually, though, nature forced their hand. The devastating era known as the Hungry Forties descended on Europe like a plague. Between 1846 and 1848, severe grain and potato shortages just ravaged the continent. This catastrophic economic crisis became the ultimate push factor. It was a desperate situation, demanding that survival could only be found by abandoning their ancestral home forever. There was simply no other choice.
Part 3. Crossing to the New World.
Driven by the threat of starvation and the siren song of the West, our epic narrative zeroes in on two specific individuals, John Nicholas Heric and Marie Rose Colin. In 1850, John made the desperate, gut-wrenching decision to leave Agincourt behind. Together, they took a terrifying leap into the total unknown of the North American frontier, eventually settling in Ontario, Canada, and birthing a completely new dynasty.
Part 4. Builders of the Frontier.
Now, arriving in North America wasn't the end of the struggle. Oh no. It was the beginning of a grueling, highly physical new reality. The Herics literally had to carve their new world out of raw timber. Yet, a staggering transformation was brewing here. They started out doing heavy frontier labor as master carpenters and cradle makers. But as you'll see, their destiny was pulling them toward the glamorous performing arts, where they'd eventually rise as Orpheum circuit musicians and chief military band leaders. Talk about a pivot, right?
But well before the glamour, there was immense, back-breaking hardship. Take 1854, for example. John and his brother Joseph used their mastery of carpentry to build the very first Catholic church in New Berlin, Ontario. They literally constructed the foundation of their community. But in a cruel, unbelievable twist of fate, the church burned to the ground before they saw a single cent for their labor. Can you imagine?
Despite the ashes of that church, their physical grit was just undeniable. Joseph mastered the highly unique craft of the cradle maker, forging essential agricultural tools to feed the rapidly expanding, hungry frontier. Meanwhile, John basically sacrificed his body to the massive, dangerous lumber and salt mills of Bay City, Michigan. With their bare hands, these guys forged the infrastructure of the Great Lakes.
Part 5. The Stage and the Sword.
As the late 19th century dawned, the descendants of these rugged millmen completely flipped the script, trading their axes for the stage and the sword. John's son, Francis Xavier Heric, wielded music itself as a weapon of morale. During the Spanish-American War in 1898, he served as the chief musician for the 33rd Michigan Volunteer Infantry, projecting the family's influence all the way across the globe to the Philippines.
And Francis's life secured another absolutely monumental alliance. He married Elizabeth Olmsted, permanently intertwining this ancient French bloodline with deep American colonial history. Elizabeth was actually a descendant of Jabez Olmsted, a legendary captain of the brutal French and Indian Wars. So here you have two massive historical legacies, both forged in blood, united into one single family.
Meanwhile, Francis's twin brother Nicholas Eugene Heric was out conquering the West Coast. Playing the violin, viola, and bass, Nicholas built a sprawling vaudeville empire. He dominated the premier Orpheum circuit all the way from Seattle down to San Francisco and over to Salt Lake City. The Heric name was now literally up in lights on the grandest stages of the American West.
But, as we've seen, tragedy relentlessly haunts the Heric Saga. In 1920, devastation struck Walla Walla, Washington. A catastrophic fire consumed Nicholas's home, reducing his priceless, irreplaceable violins and clarinets to ash. It was a heartbreaking, sudden loss for a family that had built its entire new identity on music.
Yet, true to form, the musical legacy refused to die. Instead, it evolved into a shield. During the darkest, most desperate economic days of the Great Depression, Guy Winfield Heric took up the mantle. He transformed the family's legacy into fierce labor advocacy, rising as president of the Musicians Local 104 to defend the rights and the livelihoods of starving artists when they needed a champion the absolute most.
Through all this sweeping, triumphant history, we're grounded by a very sobering human reality. The tragically short life of William J. Heric from 1938 to 1962 stands as a stark reminder of this lineage's ultimate fragility. Amidst the epic grandeur of history, every single generation that survives to pass on the torch is, frankly, nothing short of a statistical miracle. From the brutal medieval battlefields of Duke Heric in 750 AD to a sprawling modern family of descendants today, this is so much more than just a genealogy. What we're really looking at is a microcosm of Western civilization itself. It is a profound testament to the pure, unyielding, undeniable endurance of humanity. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. We've just traced a staggering journey across empires, oceans, and centuries. But here's the thing. Every single one of us has a line that reaches back just as deeply into the dark, uncharted corners of history. The question is, what 1,200 years of history flows through your veins?